All right. This time we are going to pick up with dissociative disorders. So, what is a dissociative disorder? Well, it refers to a separation of conscious awareness from thoughts, memory, bodily sensations, feelings, or even identity. Okay, now dissociation can serve as a psychological escape from an overwhelmingly stressful situation. And dissociation is something that we all kind of do. One of the best examples I can, kind of think of is you're driving home, whether you're driving or somebody else is driving, and all of a sudden you're home and you can't remember like how you got there, and you kind of have that moment of, oh my gosh, did I stop at that stop sign? Like, I don't remember driving by that place or this house or whatever. That's kind of a dissociation. It's kind of a separation of conscious awareness. So you kind of like remove yourself. Now, when we start to get into this kind of dissociative disorders, though, is when the dysfunction and the distress is caused by chronic and severe dissociation. So not the fleeting moments that happen in class or things, while you're driving, but when they happen often and they happen for long, extended periods of time. Okay. Now there's a couple categories of or a couple of subtypes of dissociative disorders. So dissociative amnesia is the loss of memory with no known physical cause, and it's the inability to recall selected memories or any memories. Okay, so dissociative amnesia functions just the same way that the other types of amnesia that we talked about, the anterograde and retrograde amnesia, except that there's no physical trauma. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with the brain. It is purely psychological. So for whatever reason, your brain is shutting off your ability to recall memories. Now, what happens with this is, sometimes they stay gone forever. Sometimes they appear suddenly. It oftentimes happens after a traumatic event. Your brain kind of shuts it off. But again, the difference between dissociative amnesia and then just typical amnesia, or what we call organic amnesia, is that the dissociative amnesia has no physical cause. Now, dissociative fugue is running away state, is what kind of is commonly referred to. Wandering away from one's life, memory, and identity with no memories of these. So people who have fugue kind of just disappear. One day they just leave and they go away and they turn up someplace else with no idea who they are. And oftentimes they just reintegrate themselves into this new town with this new identity. And sometimes they remember, sometimes they don't. Okay. Now, the difference, though, between dissociative amnesia and dissociative fugue is that with amnesia, people don't necessarily leave, but with fugue, one of the hallmarks of it is going away from their life, okay, disappearing. Now, and the last one is dissociative identity disorder, DID. Okay, and this is the development of separate personalities. Okay, so dissociative identity disorder used to be what we called multiple personality disorder. Okay, and in the rare actual cases of DID, the personalities are distinct and the present in the consciousness and not present in consciousness at the same time. Okay, so it's like people have like 5, 6, however many parallel personalities. Okay, so when one personality is out, the other ones are not consciously aware of what's happening at that time. And then when the next one comes out, the other ones are not aware. So the time loss is huge because, if your personality 1 and personality 2 and 3 have been out for the last year, and then all of a sudden personality 1 comes back out, you might not have any recollection, or you won't have any recollection of that entire last year of your life. Okay, and they may or may not appear to be aware of each other. Sometimes one personality knows about all the others, but then one personality doesn't realize there's other personalities. So there's a lot of intricacies with this disorder. Now, alternative explanations for DID, the dissociative identities might be just an extreme form of role playing. This is a controversial thing. Not very many psychologists, and people in the psychological community acknowledge the existence of this, and they really do think that this is a fictitious disorder. But there have been some cases that kind of put that but on the playing field that allows it to still be part of the DSM. Okay, DID in North America might be a recent cultural construction, similar to the idea of being possessed by the evil spirits, and cases of DID might be created or worsened by therapists, encouraging people to think of different parts of themselves differently. Okay, so we don't really understand a lot about DID because it is very rare and because it's really difficult to prove. But some of the things that we do know about the people that, have actually been diagnosed with this is that it is very distressful and very dysfunctional, and there's some very interesting phenomena that occur with it, including different biorhythms for the different personalities, meaning heart rate, blood pressure, those kinds of things, handwriting, gender identification, age identification, and all of those types of things. So we'll see some examples in class and talk about some people who claim to have DID and what it looks like in real life. Now, is it DID or not? Okay, now, is there evidence that DID is real? Different personalities, like I talked about, sorry, I kind of got ahead of myself, have different brainwave patterns, different left and right-handedness, different visual acuity and eye muscle balance patterns. So patients with DID also show heightened activity in areas of the brain associated with managing and inhibiting traumatic memories, okay? So there is some differences in these different personalities. Now, explaining fragmentation of personality from different perspectives. Now, the psychoanalytics obviously would say that it's the diverting id. The cognitive perspective would say it's a way of coping with abuse. This didn't happen to me, it happened to somebody else. The learning perspective would say that dissociation pays, right? I don't have to deal with it. Positive reinforcement. It's not me, it's somebody else. Okay, and then the social influence would say that therapists encourage this. So again, very controversial disorder, fascinating disorder though, and we'll talk about this a lot more in class in the next couple days.